maybe not necessarily different perspective, just a variety, I'd say, because we're just designed very intricately and are complex human beings that we have to uh, work on various things in our life as a whole. Our life is not just one thing within us, it's a lot of things. It's our mindset, it's our heart, it's our spirit, it's our bodies as well. And then aside from that, you add the things in life, such as finances and marriage and kids. And so we've got to work on a lot of those things. But my focus really is to work on the internal, because that is what I really believe will help you move forward. And today I want to focus on that, is how do we move forward in these challenging times that we are all living. So I want to speak to that quite a bit today. How is it that I move forward in life and be able to move? I'm just going to share the PowerPoint. I don't have a lot on the PowerPoint today because I have a lot more to say, and I want to focus on what I am talking about today. So, but let me share here. And so, this is, I titled this today, "Time to Move Forward." And so we've all been dealing with this pandemic. We've all been dealing with this year, and I tell people, or people are anxiously waiting for this year to be over. But in reality, whether the year's over, things are going to continue. Things in life continue. Yeah, you can say, well, it's a new season once the new year gets here. But in reality, it's not. It's the mindset that we have to change. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through, whatever you're living in, if you're able to change the inner part of you and leave things that are supposed to be left in the past, then you are able to move forward in life. And so thinking about this, I want to bring this in through, what advice would I give somebody if I would have known about this pandemic, ahead of time, if I would have known all of this 2020 and the year, what it would bring, what advice would I give prior and what advice would I give post pandemic? But in reality, this is life. This is life. Whether we're in a pandemic or not a pandemic, there are situations in life that will impact us. And if we learn to conquer, if we learn to live life to the fullest, if we learn to work on our inner selves, and what I mean by inner selves is our mindset. And so I want to talk about that today. So the first thing that I want to tell you today is that we have the ability to choose, and I want you to keep that in mind, that you have been given the ability to choose what you are to do. And so every single one of us as a human being has the ability to choose from a tons of variety of things. We can choose good or we can choose evil. We can choose bad things. We can choose the good things. We can choose. And so we all choose, no matter what background you're coming from, no matter what nation, no matter where you grew up in, we all are allowed to choose where we go and how we continue living this life, or how we move forward. So the first thing that I want to speak about is actually, this is my first point, is to leave the past behind you. Leave the past behind you. And so one of the things that I see that a lot of people drag on and keep carrying is their past, is whatever they have lived in their past. It is hard for them to leave behind and say, hey, I need to move forward because I am dragging this and I'm carrying this from my past. And my past can be a ton of things in life. Maybe something happened to you, that in your childhood. And I think a lot of things that happen to us actually happen to us in our childhood and happen to us as in our teenage years when we are young. And a lot of people carry that for a lifetime. And how is it that I take that off and continue to strive forward? Because if you keep carrying it, it's just going to waste away. It will always be on the back of your mind, whether you want it or not, if you allow it to. And so if I look at the book of life, which is the Bible, I look at particularly one person that reminds me to move forward in life. And this person is Paul in the Bible. And I get his example because he speaks a lot of encouragement on moving forward because of his own personal experience. And so he was a Pharisee, and a Pharisee in that time is somebody with authority and position, somebody who had been studied, somebody who had studied the law and followed the law. And that's he himself, talks about that. And it's very interesting to see his story because he says, hey, everything that I had succeeded in, everything that I have learned, everything that I have in my past, whether good or bad, he says this, the one thing that I do is this, is I leave it all behind and I strive forward to the goal, right? And for him, the goal was Jesus Christ. And so he says, I'm going to leave all of this behind and I'm going to strive to move forward in life. I'm going to strive to move forward. And this is very interesting because you might say, well, he had all these good things. Yeah, he was, he had money, he was studied, he was, a man of authority, and he left all that behind. Yeah, that's one thing. But one of the other things that I think a lot of people carry, which is really ultimately something that'll kill you in your thoughts, in your mind, it'll stress you, it'll cause anxiety, all kinds of illnesses, is the shame that you may carry. And so Paul was somebody in authority, and in those times, he would give the order for Christians to be killed. And so he was after Christians, after believers of Jesus Christ, and he was out for them to kill them. And so he would give the orders for these Christians to be killed. So imagine that now that he comes to know Jesus Christ, his whole life is changed, but he's got this thing behind him, and he's got he was still carrying, but he learned how to leave it behind. He's got this thing of probably shame and these thoughts of like, hey, you killed people. You killed people that were innocent. You killed people just for believing in what you now believe. And so imagine having to carry with that. And so he had to learn this of leaving those things behind him and striving forward. He says, hey, everything that I know, everything that was my past life, I leave behind, and I'm going to go towards the goal. I'm going to go towards what I need to go. And so if you learn to do that in life, and I'm going to teach you today as well, how do we do those things? How do we do that? Because that's really the main question for me in everything that I either learn or I'm teaching. I want to learn the how do I do it? How do I get there? And I'm going to teach you that today as well. But he is saying, so we leave the past behind. And here's interesting thing. Like if you look at the past of your life, whether good or bad, I'd say, okay, get the good, you learn from the good, and you keep moving forward, right? But I've seen where people, they accomplish something great in life, and they say that's it now, and then after that it's like a downfall. They don't keep striving for more. They don't keep striving for betterment, and so that can be also a downfall. But if there's good things that you've learned, yeah, bring those along. But if there's things that have been bad that you've committed, that sin, things that are in the background, shame, guilt, condemnation, those things have to be left in the past. Me as a Christian, I know that I've been saved through grace by Jesus Christ. And so how do I know that, my past is not going to come back and be thrown in my face? Is because the Bible tells me, God tells me he will not do that ever again because he has forgiven all of those things from the past. And so a lot of people carry those things with them into the future. And the best way to do it is ask for forgiveness and move forward. One of the things that I do know is that you cannot do anything about your past. Like in reality, if you think about this, you cannot do anything about things that already happened. And you cannot do anything of stuff that already happened yesterday. Stuff that happened a few minutes ago. You can do one thing, and I'll get to that point because this is the how. But you really can't, like, it's gone. That day is gone, and this is a new day now, and you've got to live this day and move forward from it. But in reality, there's not much you can do. Once it's gone, it's gone. You left it behind. You can't do much of that situation besides move forward and say, hey, I'm gonna fix this in my mind, and I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna fix this in my thoughts, in my life, and I'm going to move forward. The past is past. You know, so a lot of people nowadays maybe have lost their job, or maybe have, had to go through some really tough things this past year. But in reality, I'm like, I leave these things behind, and I've got to see what's next in the future. Because I can stay stuck. It's like, man, I used to love, being able to be with friends, and being able to be at restaurants, and being able to do this and that, and now we can't even get out of our houses. We can't even go out. And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, you learn to do things differently as well. You learn to, hey, you got technology, you can video conference, you can call somebody, you can text somebody, all these things. But you don't stay stuck in the past. Oh, I remember how things were back then. I remember, oh, life was better back then. And in reality, you're losing out on what can be done today, and the joy that can be in your life today, because you're reminiscing so much on the past, or staying in the past. It's not bad to go back and think, oh, this happened in the past, this was good, I'll take that and move forward with it. But no, there's people that stay stuck in there and just keep, oh, the past years were better, the past year, everything was better in the past. Oh, when I was growing up, everything was better, and no, we got to move and say, hey, I'm going to move from here, from this point today. What can I do today, and move forward in my life and in my current situation? And so the first thing to do is, hey, and the one thing I'd say you have to do is leave what is behind, and let's move forward. It sounds pretty easy to do, but sometimes it's hard. It's like you got to cut some things in your life. You got to say, hey, I've got to stop this from it happened in the past, was good or bad. I've got to leave it there, and I've got to move on with my life. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck there. So the next thing, and this is the one I want to speak to more on, is how is the forgiveness, because a lot of people, and I believe this is what damages a lot of people, is lack of forgiveness. Something that happened in the past, in their childhood, somebody told them something, somebody did something to them, or you did something to someone, and you haven't, either asked for forgiveness or received forgiveness. And that actually stops a lot of people, and leads a lot of people into paths of even addiction because of lack of forgiveness. I know that the lack of forgiveness is actually the mother of all toxic emotions in our lives. It causes all sorts of toxic emotions. So there's some questions that you can ask yourself, because, and this is what I've done, as well personally. Plus, when I speak to people, especially people who are addicted to something, I happen to ask them, because the addiction is not, it is a problem, but it's not the root cause of why they are addicted to whatever they're addicted. And so, for specifically some examples, I met this one person. He was hanging out at the church that I pastor, which he wasn't supposed to be there. He was hanging out. I happened to be walking over to the office area, and he was in some of the stairs there, and he was drinking alcohol. And he startled me, but then I kind of recognized him. I had seen him before, and I started, talking to him about his life, and he didn't even know why he was he was, heavily involved in drinking alcohol. And I knew really I didn't know what the actual issue was, but I was like, okay, let me ask him some questions to know exactly, the background or the root cause of this, because I knew about this. I knew the lack of forgiveness is the main thing causing this addiction. And so, I asked him several questions, just questioning about his life, and his, if he had family, and his wife was like, yeah, my family's not from here, and they're over in another country. And I said, who hurt you? I said, who hurt you in life when you were younger? Or and tears started rolling. He's all, you know what, my wife, she left me, and and so he had not forgiven her of this, and that caused him and led him to this road of addiction. And he needs to forgive. We didn't get to that point. I didn't see him after that. But he needs to get to that point of forgiving his wife or whoever caused any damage. We need to get to that point of forgiving them for what they did in their life, in your life. Because that is really the root cause of a lot of things going on. So if you talk to anybody, or you personally start digging into your life, you start noticing, these toxic emotions that are showing up. And toxic emotions can be your attitude. Toxic emotions can be how you respond to certain things, is sadness and depression. A lot of these toxic emotions, the root cause of it is because of lack of forgiveness. You have not forgiven someone that harmed you in this life, or you have not forgiven even yourself that you did something in this life, or to someone in this life. And so when you get to the point of forgiving, doesn't mean, and let me tell you this, because a lot of people say, well, they really harm me, and it's very hard for me to forgive them. And I know it's very hard for you to forgive them. I know it's very hard for even to say, hey, I need forgiveness of what I did. But when you get to the point of actually forgiving somebody, you're going to realize that it's going to set you free. It's going to set you free. And let me tell you this, it might not make the situation right. There's situations that will never be made right by forgiving somebody, but it will make you free. Listen to this. It will make you free. It might not make the situation right. Maybe they harmed you. Maybe they molested you. Okay. It doesn't make the situation right when you forgive them, but it frees you from what you've been living. And so that's super important, right? If you're able to forgive them in person, great. If you can't forgive them in person, then forgive them, or sometimes here's what's happened as well. Sometimes that person that harmed you has already passed away, is already dead. And you're still carrying on with all these toxic emotions and unforgiveness of what happened to you. So here's what I tell people: still forgive them, forgive, say, hey, I forgive this person. And if those thoughts and feelings want to continue, keep forgiving until those thoughts and emotions stop. And they'll try to come back in. And so what do? You forgive. And here's what I tell people: the best way to do this is forgive, right? And you actually pray for people, pray a blessing for people. I bless them. No matter what they did, I bless them until those toxic emotions start disappearing. You will see this in your life, that this happens. And when that is gone, wow, you're going to live a life of freedom, and you'll be able to move forward from all these toxic emotions. Because if you don't do that, it's going to affect every single area of your life. If you don't deal with the inner person, if you don't deal with your with yourself and toxic emotions and lack of forgiveness, it will affect every single relationship in your life. It will affect every single thing you want to do in life if you don't um, do these things. I've seen it in people. I've seen it, and I'm telling you, this will help you in life. I was reminded of a story. This is something that actually happened. If you know of Viktor Frankl, he was a Holocaust survivor. Um, and he went on to write various books and author various books, and he was a speaker. Um, and here's what happened to him. So he was in Auschwitz, one of the concentration camps there, and he and his whole family were there. They killed his mother in these gas chambers. They killed his wife, right, and brother, in these concentration camps. And only he and his sister actually survived. But in these concentration camps, if you've seen anything, if you read anything about them or about the Holocaust, they had forced labor. They were treated horribly, and here is one thing that he said that really impacted me, and I'm like, this is how to live life and how to forgive people. He says, "I choose to suffer with dignity, and regardless of what the Nazis do to me, I will not hate one of them." That is powerful. I'm like, he says, "I will not hate one of them," right? He decided to forgive and not allow that lack of forgiveness or unforgiveness to control his life and to cause all these toxic emotions. Imagine these people that killed, these people that murdered basically your whole family, and caused all this harm to you, and you decided, hey, I'm not going to hate them. I am not going to hate. Hate is a huge thing in a lot of people's life. If you have not forgiven, more than likely you are hating somebody for what they did to you. And so the sooner you can get to forgiving somebody, the sooner you will be free of everything you've been carrying. Trust me, try it out. Just try it out. You will see that you will live a life much better than what you're living. You'll live a life of freedom. You'll be like, wow, this load that I had on of my past, because a lot of it happened in the past for most of us. It happened in your childhood, in your teenagers, years back, or maybe even just weeks back. But the sooner you get to forgiving, the quicker you get to freedom in your mind. And all these emotions that want to come in, all these toxic emotions that want to control and rule your life, you will not allow them to do that. And so, I was very impressed with this Viktor Frankl. He did die in 1997, but he was, he might have been defeated physically because of all the labor, everything he had to go through, but he was not defeated spiritually. He was not defeated on the inside. And I think when we learn from his example, when we learn what he went through, actually the majority of us probably didn't go through something similar to what he had to face in life. And he was able to say, hey, I'm not going to allow what they did affect my life. I'm not going to allow them, and I'm not going to allow everything that happened, even if they murdered my family, I am not going to allow it to affect me internally, in my thoughts, in my heart, in my spirit. I am going to keep moving on. And he did. He moved on in life. Doesn't mean he didn't remember things, right? I think you will always remember things that happen, but you can remember them without them affecting your life, and you can keep moving forward. And that's what he did. He did, throughout many years that he lived still, he went on speaking, what happened in his life. He went on speaking and had the right, he had the right attitude. And so that's my third and final point today, is facing life with the right attitude. And I think this is one of the most important things we have to do. is we have to face life with the right attitude. Otherwise, it's gonna be, you're gonna live a sour, sad, frustrated life, in whatever you're facing. If you're facing, this year, 2020, if you're facing the pandemic, virus, illness, whatever you may be facing, if you don't face it with the right attitude, it's gonna win over you. It is gonna stomp you down, crush you, and so I really believe when we change our attitude, we all can do this. Viktor Frankl changed his attitude, and he was able to live through the Holocaust. He was able to live years past that and help impact other people's lives because of his example. And so one of the most, important things to do is change our attitude to the things that we face in life. Change our attitude to what was in front of us, what we have to confront. And so let me tell you this: good attitudes predict success, favor, and promotion. Look at this. So I was a manager at a corporation for a lot of years. And now that I help people in pastoring a church, and I also lead another organization, the thing that I look for is the attitude. The attitude. If somebody has the right skills or great skills, but a horrible attitude, I was like, no, I'd rather deal with somebody with the correct attitude and the skills we can build up later. And that is what honestly, a lot of CEOs in companies will also do this. Will say, hey, I'd rather work and hire somebody with the right attitude than having to deal with a bad attitude. Because guess what? A bad attitude will ruin that person. A bad attitude will ruin others around that person, right? Because you can't work as a team. You can't work with others. And so having the right attitude, I think, has a lot more impact in somebody's life than somebody having you might be great at something. You might be great at a lot of things. You might be studied in so many things, but have such a bad attitude that nobody wants to work with you, that nobody wants to deal with you. And so I really believe this is one of the number one things, and we are all able to do this. That's the marvelous thing, that you and I are able to change our attitude. We're able to do this, right? You should be in control of what you do, how you react, how you're thinking, and you can change it. Hey, if something bad happened in my life, if something sad, if something tremendous happened, or something that I didn't like came, at me, how do I face it? I get to choose. And in reality, there's only two choices. Either you're going to choose a good attitude and, hey, I'm going to keep going forward, I'm going to do this, or you're going to choose a sour attitude, a bad attitude towards it. And so the next thing on here is contentment. And I had spoken, I had talked about Paul in the beginning of this in the Bible. Paul in the Bible, so he comes to know Jesus Christ, and then he starts living his life, preaching, going everywhere, and preaching this new life, preaching salvation to others. Anywhere he would go, he was out preaching. And there's one thing that catches my attention from him, because after he comes to knowing Jesus Christ and starting his life in Jesus Christ, he deals with a lot of different situations. He was stoned, and they thought he had almost died. No, they thought he had died, and they drag him out of the city. This is in those years when they would stone people to death. And so they had stoned them, and they drag him out of the city because they thought he was dead. He wasn't dead. He gets back up and starts back at it, starts preaching again. I'm like, this guy, he was put in jail. He and a fellow co-worker were put in jail. And back then, today's jails are more of a luxury. Back then, jails were not a luxury. They were put in the worst of the worst area of the jail. They say they were like caves, and so they were locked in there, and their ankles were also tied. And this was a dark, ugly, area. So imagine no restroom in that area either. So just imagine for a moment what he was facing in that time. And so it was the worst of the worst. It was the darkest of the darkest area. And he says, I'm going to get up and I'm going to have a right attitude. And I'm going to start singing. I'm going to start praising God. And he does that, and things start to happen there. And I really believe it's because of the attitude. He didn't let those things win in his life, because sometimes we may feel like that. Sometimes we may feel like we're in a jail. Sometimes we feel we're in the worst of the worst situations. But hey, in those times, you get up and you start with the right attitude. You start, praising. You start singing. You start saying, you know what? I can do all things through Christ. I can do this. I can live this life the right way, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And you start feeding your thoughts. Listen, as you start feeding your mind, contrary to what it is trying to feed you, right? Your mind probably feels defeated, and it wants to tell you you're defeated. You're not going to amount to anything. Why keep moving forward? And no, you start changing that. And Paul did that, and he shows us how to do that through the Bible. And he says, here's one of the statements about contentment. He says, hey, I have learned that with much or with little, I'm going to live content, right? And he showed it through his attitude. He showed it through what he lived through in this life. And he says, hey, whatever I'm facing, I'm going to live content. I'm like, wow, that shows me a lot. Whether I have little right now, whether I might not have a lot of, in my refrigerator or pantry, I might not have a lot of money. I might not have a lot, of things in my life, but I'm going to live happy. I'm going to live joyous. And Paul shows us that. He says, or if I have a lot, I'm going to be content as well. I think it is easier probably to when you have all these things, but Paul was saying, hey, whether I have a lot, whether I have a little, I'm going to live with contentment in my life. And that is an attitude. That is an attitude that we should all follow. Let me go with this. Let me tell you about this before I move on to this next point. In airplanes, so if you know anything about piloting, which I don't know a lot about piloting, but I've heard about pilots and those who are studying or study to be pilots, even of these smaller planes. They tell you about the how an airplane is controlled and how to know whether you're going in the right direction or not, because sometimes it's cloudy or hazy, sometimes it's at night. And in an airplane, they say you don't know if you're already going down. You might feel like you're level, but you're actually already descending, and you don't know. And that's how I think John F. Kennedy Jr., he crashed into the ocean because he thought he was level, but his plane was actually going down. He crashed, and that's how he died. And so in airplanes, they have, and this is very interesting, they have what is called an attitude indicator, an attitude indicator. And it's a little gauge telling you how your airplane is flying, whether it's going up, whether it's a few degrees down. This is the attitude, I guess that's what it's called, the attitude indicator. And so there's times in this life that you won't be able to see, times that you're going to be so clouded with everything going on around you, and you might want to say, well, I'm going to trust my emotions. Our emotions are there, but they might not necessarily be correct. They might not be right, so in flying, they say, hey, don't trust your inner ear either. Don't trust the, hey, I think I'm going straight, I think I'm going the right direction, but in reality you're already facing down and you might crash into a mountain. And so when we're going through difficulties in life, what is your attitude indicator? that you should continue straight on the path, that you should, and not let things go down. What is your attitude indicator? For me, it's the book of life. What does God say about this life? What is the wisdom that he gives me to live? When my emotions are all over the place, what is God telling me, right? What is he saying? How do I live this life? And that's going back to forgiveness. I might not feel like forgiving. And your emotions will probably tell you, no, don't forgive. Look at how much harm he or she caused you. Look at how much what they did to you. Look at what they said to you. Look at how they ruined your life. All these emotions start surging up, but the right thing to do is saying, you know what, I'm going to forgive. My attitude indicator says I need to forgive. Despite what I'm feeling, despite what my inner ear is telling me, I have to forgive, because that's going to lead me in the right path to this life. And so our thoughts are the engine of the plane. So either you've got a nose up or nose down attitude. It's up to us. It's up to us. So you've got to see how you should be living your life. Let me tell you this. You can smell a bad attitude a block away or more. You can really, somebody with a bad attitude is like, man, I can see it. I can sense it. I'm like, I think we're seeing it more nowadays, and it's up to us to change that. Up to each and every one of us on here, or anybody that's going to be listening to this, is to change that. I see it at stores. I see it, coffee shops. You can see people with this attitude, the wrong attitude, I'm saying. Over, and then some things are like so small. I mean, over a cup of coffee, or their order was wrong. It's like, come on, like, fix your attitude, like, change your attitude. It's nothing that can't be fixed. If you order at a restaurant, for example, and your order comes out wrong or comes out cold, hey, have a great attitude. Just say, hey, would you be able to? And I think people do respond. No, I don't think people do respond better when you give them the right attitude. And so there's people, we all have to work with people, right? We all have to work with others. And so learning this will get you ahead. I had to learn to work with people that had been negative or had said something to me. It's like, how do I win this person over? How do I win? I'll tell you a quick little example before I conclude here. So at Youth Impact, which is another organization that I lead, we have a food pantry as well. And so there's times we have to go pick up food at one of the main food pantry here in town. And so we would go with the truck and go and pick up food. And there was this one lady who would, be on the little car, I forgot what they're called, but she brings out, all these boxes, driving this little car, and loads them up into the truck. And she was like you could tell she had an attitude. She had a bad attitude. And how, so I had a choice. Do I respond with that same attitude she's having, or do I show her the right nice attitude no matter what she's showing me? Because I don't know how her day has been. I don't know what she's faced. I don't know, which doesn't excuse us either. But here's the thing. I said, I'm going to respond to her with kindness. I'm going to respond to her with love. And, I just started speaking to her. Oh, thank you so much for what you're doing. Hope you're having a good day, or hopefully it gets better. And immediately her attitude changed towards us. She even offered us even more food that day. Like, hey, do you want this as well? We got this. And it's like, wow, like, she changed dramatically. And so you and I have the ability to help others also change their attitudes. And so that's just the one mini story, but try that. Whenever somebody's giving you the wrong attitude, hey, you show them the right attitude. And that is this last point here, grateful, being grateful. So when you wake up, you know, what is the first thing you do? Are you grateful for that day or not? Are you joyous, you know, or thankful for that day that you're living? Or do you say, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, which, you know, in reality, there is no wrong or right side of the bed. It's like you just woke up, maybe you're thinking, I have this bad attitude already because of your thoughts. It's like, no, you wake up and you say, you know, I'm thankful for this day. Thank you, God, for this day. You know, you thank for just living, for being able to breathe even, that, you know, you give thanks in all situations. And so that is how to have the right attitude, and that is what is going to move us forward. You know, I want to finish off here that is what is going to move you forward. Having the right attitude is probably the number one thing, and that it all starts with our thoughts. You know, you can change it. You decide what attitude you will have, right? You decide whether you're going to live negatively, whether you're going to live, you know, without kindness, without goodness in your life, or you choose, and I choose to say, hey, I'm going to live with goodness and kindness and love, and I'm going to treat people right. I'm going to show them a smile. Oh, even behind the masks that we're all wearing now, you can show people a smile, you know, just with the eyes, like the eyes twinkle for some reason when you have or put on a smile on your face. And so the way to leave, you leave the past behind. You know, you do this one thing, forgetting everything that's behind. You forgive, right? You forgive and you move forward in your life, and you have the right attitude waking up every single day. No matter what's going on in your life, you have the right attitude. You're going to win in this life. You're going to succeed in this life. You're going to be prosperous in this life by doing those things. The attitude will take you far in this life. So thank you all for listening in. Thank you all for being, you know, with us here today. Thank you, Sam, for allowing me to share. That is all that I have at this moment.
Thank you very much, Pastor Hernandez. We are very appreciative for your time, and we've learned a lot from what you share with us, and we really really appreciate you. Attitude is everything, and I learned a lot from that. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next person is going to speak is going to be Mr. Olabi, and then after he's finished speaking, then we're going to go into question and answer session. Somebody already sent a question to Pastor Hernandez, but he will answer that question after Femi is done. So if you're ready, please, Femi, take it with you.
I have my technical people here. How are you going to share my screen? How do we share my screen?
Your screen?
Yeah, you said you can share it. I mean, do I need to share it? Then you go to it.
Oh, is it the same you sent to me?
Yeah, it's the same. That one has not changed.
Okay, let me go and look for it. And now let me find it and I'll share it.
And I'll control it from here, right? You can't.
No, I can't control it from your hand. I have to control it from my end.
Okay, let me see. Because I'm using like a phone to do it.
Ah, okay, hold on.
Say C or do you want to log on to something? Okay, you're sharing. You're sharing. That's awesome. Thank you. Yep. I'm live. All right, are we ready? That's good. Can you hear me? He's not talking.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, awesome. Is that good to go?
Yeah, good to go.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Brother Sam. Good to be back again. My name is Femi. It's good to be back. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. And I thank everybody that is joining us today. We talked about a lot of things last night, and I'm going to touch about some of them today. So so that we should get started real quick. Thanks for joining us today. But before we get started, this is one thing I want us to know. I want us to understand, like, everybody that is listening, you and I, everybody, our life, our entire life, our future has been established from the beginning. So is your greatness. And I want us to know, and I want us to start having in our mind that our future is perfect. Our future is a perfect place. Now we have to talk about how we get into that future. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as I'm going to be talking about some of those things, I want to know, like, the word that I'm speaking to you, they are seed, like we talked about yesterday, that you are a seed, your word are seed, and everything your thought, they are seed as well. So that's some of the things I'm going to be talking about today. As I'm sowing this in our life, I hope and I pray that all life, all future that you have not seen, they will be established right now. They will start being established. And if you want to see that future established, you have to search into your own seed. We talked about it right yesterday. You have to search deep into your own seed, which is from within. All right. For the sake of those who were not here last night, I will quickly go over what we talked about before I go into what I'm going to be saying today, which is say, see, and sow. But what we talked about yesterday was seed of idea. Yesterday we went through seeds and idea, how they are related. And I talked mainly about some unpopular seed, which are the most powerful one is the word seed, the seed of word. But yesterday I talked about the seed of idea. Today is going to be, I'll be touching on seed of word as well. And yesterday as well, I talk about sources of seed, and I talk about two key sources, which are MC and single divergent. MC means multiple convergence. That's what we find in human beings. We find that out, like that seed has a lot of multiple potential that converges, potentials that converge into one human source, like a one convergent source, such as human being. That's why our ideas, when we have them, we're thinking fast, it's dynamic. Everything is coming in our direction so fast. You have a lot of that. The single one is something like you have one idea, you plan it, people are working for you, and that idea goes to a lot of things. But the multiple one, you have so many ideas, you won't know how to use them. And we talk about the principle of focus, which is help us to put those ideas together and pick one. FOCUS. That means fix your idea, fix your mind on one. C is gain clarity of the purpose of that idea and get rid of competition. Anything that is competing with those ideas, get rid of them. You have to understand your role as the sower of that idea. You have to understand what your role you have to play. That's why a lot of people fail in life, because they know what they have to do, but they cannot do it, right? They fail to be like, oh, I can't do that, and I can't. We talked about that. The last one, which is very important, which is going to lead me to my topic today, is S of the focus is see seed always and sow. You have to see seed always, which is what a major point we're talking about. See seed. Every time you see something and that thing has a potential to grow, has the potential to be a source of development, you have to see it as seed. I talked about it yesterday. Your salary is not a fruit, it's a seed. That's what we're going to talk about today. And when you see seed in everything, you begin to sow. Seeing is vital to our future. This is one of the keys to our freedom as well. It's the key to our liberation. When you see and understand what you're seeing, you will be free because you start sowing, you start implementing. We talked about implementing yesterday. So today, I'll be talking about the 3 of the 12 S's of greatness. These 12 S's, I wrote it in the book that I'm working on. I wrote about 12 S's of seed of greatness, and I'm going to be touching about 3 of them today. And those 3 S's are say, see, and sow. Okay, I think that slide is saying say C and C, but it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's actually say C and so. That's probably, yeah, but three S. It says C and so because these key S's for us to be great, for us to get to the future we're talking about, which is great, which I said is already established from the beginning. You need truth to take us there. And this is one of the truths I'm going to share with you today is about the principle of seeing. I'll talk about seeing first, but then I'll wrap everything together. In terms of seeing, this is the key because 2,000 years ago, I think somebody gave us a lot of keys. He said, I give you keys. This is one of the keys, and I want you to start writing those things down, those things that I learned. Do not see things as they are, but as what they could be. All right? What does that mean? When you see, I don't have my camera because I'm not projecting the slide. Well, when you see a seed or a tree, you need to start seeing papers. You need to start seeing newspaper. You need to start seeing tables. You need to start seeing chairs. You need to start seeing building materials. That means you need to start seeing the end from the beginning. Don't see things as they are, like when they are small, you think they are small. No, that thing has a big future in it. It's future of the future of that seed is great. So are you. Your future is great. I said it earlier, and I hope you all believe it. Now, talking about don't see things as they are. When I was growing up in Africa, I grew up on a farm and I grew up in the city. So that helped me a lot because most of the time when we see, I turn to the Bible a lot. Most of the things used in the Bible, they are like nature. So I grew up on the farm. There's a plant that is called yucca plant, Y-U-C-C-A. It's called cassava in Africa, right? This plant in Africa, you can make almost 10 food products from it. But if you cannot see, if you don't know how to see, you think that tuber is a root plant. You think that's what it is. And that's what's happening to us in life. People see us as who we are, but ourselves, we don't see who we are meant to be. So, and I came to America, the US, right? I found out that they have this yucca. And when I was researching into seeds and seed an idea last year, I was able to see that this yucca plant too, they use it here. I think in some, South American countries, right? And I found out that they make, not only do they make food product from this yucca plant, they make medicinal product from it as well, such as stomach ache medicine. And they said they make migraine medicine. They said almost 100 products come from this one yucca plant. And those who develop those things, those ideas to do those things, they do not see the yucca plants as what it is, but they see it as what it could be. So seeing is crucial to your greatness. Because this is what I believe, and I hear this a lot from some of my mentors. If you see what other people cannot see, you can do what other people cannot do. This is what I believe, and that's what I'm teaching today. Saying, I'll start with say, see. I think I've taught you a little bit on see, then I'll go to sow. All right. And I'll let everybody know some of the references. I think that's the yucca plant. It's kind of like the slide is kind of like all over the place, but yeah, that's the yucca plant that I was talking about. They make a lot of things from it. So now let's talk about say. All right. The reference for that saying, thank you very much, Brother Sam. Thank you. So the reference for that saying, and this everything I'm talking to you about, I'm talking about today, I got everything from the Word of God, which is the Bible, right? I mean, I'm a very curious person, right? If I learn about somebody that they said, oh, this person parted the Red Sea, I want to know about that person. I want to know that person. That's my life. That's my life. If they say, oh, some people got into like a pit and there were lions in there, it didn't kill them because they know somebody, I want to know about that person. That's why I got into kind of studying the Bible, knowing the Bible, and say, who is this person? And that's where my reference is today. So in the book of Genesis, the beginning of that book, the book of Genesis, right? Chapter 1, verse 3 and 4. I believe there's a creator, right? Those who believe, I believe, and that person is called God, right? But this is what we're talking about. The same capability that person have in his kingdom, we have it here. That's when I was talking about the multiple convergence. That almost that spirit of that capability is deposited in all. That's why those seeds are multiple and they converge into one person. And that, the one part of that gift, one part of that, is creativity. Creativity is one of those possibility gifts, right? So in Genesis 1, 3, and 4, this creator said, let there be light. And there was light. He says, and there was light. And the next verse says, and this creator, who is God, saw the light and it was good. And that's what I'm going to be basing all my essays on today. He said, he saw it, and he saw something that was good. Very simple. He said, he saw it, he saw the light, and he said it was good. So here are the three S's. I think I already said it. Say, see, and sow. So now, remember yesterday I said sowing is implementation. Yeah, let's stay with saying. I'm just highlighting some points so that we can know how sow came into that picture. Sowing came into that picture because remember yesterday when I highlighted focus, I said sowing is the implementation. So in real life, sowing is what brings the seed to actual reality. Sowing is what brings it to life, all right? I hope that makes sense. So that's why the sowing, before you can, if I give you a seed, and I said this seed is the seed of wealth, before you can get the reality of that wealth, you have to sow it. That's why I use it that. When you say it in terms of seed, we're talking about seed this time, ideas of seed idea. When you say it, you see it, then you sow it in order for it to come alive, right? So this saying that we're talking about, this is how it works. This is how this saying works, all right? In life, all right? In life, when you have something, when you don't know about something and you have it, think about it. Where did you get that something from? Maybe an idea. Where did you get it from? All right? It's either somebody told you about the idea or you thought about it in your heart. And you remember, the seed of thought is in the species of words. I say species, I'm sorry, species of the seed of word, the seed of thought. So it's either somebody told you about that thing or you thought about it. And once you start thinking about it, that thing might come out in your word. And we're going to talk about how it actually comes out. That's why I said the most powerful seed on earth is the seed of word. Either you hear it from somebody or you are saying it. If you want to go and buy a car, that's something that came into your mind. Or you want to go and buy food in the store. Even though you don't think you said it, when you get to that store, you pick that thing, you talk to somebody. If you're looking for something, you say, oh, I want to buy this stuff. That thing that you are buying, don't forget, it came from your thought before you actually said it. If you get to the place where they're selling cars, right, you say, I need a car. That you said something that's in your mind. So that's what it is saying is the first principle. You have to say it to see it. That's my principle. You have to. So what I believe in, I always say, people hear it from me. If I'm not saying it, and you don't hear me say it, that means probably I don't believe it. I'm saying it. So that if I'm wrong, some people are correcting me. That's why the power of saying comes. It's the power of the word. But in this in my book, I just read it. Saying is the key. You have to say it out. You have to say it out. Because the word doesn't have to come from you. Somebody must have sown that seed in your heart. Like we're here today, right? I believe, this is what I believe. Some people are here today because somebody brought them here to the power of saying. It might be today we deal with social media. We post stuff on social media, right? That's once you see that thing, it's so a seed in your heart. And you're going to tell yourself, you're going to say to yourself, okay, maybe I should log on. Maybe I should attend that meeting. Because today, somebody brought you here to hear this. And I'm going to tell you that you are a seed of greatness. Everybody, like I said, everybody have a future and the future is great. So like I told you now, right? I'm not sure maybe you've heard that before because it happened to me once. But my prayer is for you to believe those words, right? If we start believing those words, that's when it starts happening, when we start seeing ourselves. This happened to me once, right? I was like 19, 20. right? Somebody took me to, a seminar, one of those seminars in Nigeria, and this person was talking. This person always talk above everybody's head. These are some of the things he said. He said, "You are a blessing." Yeah, I think it was quoting from Deuteronomy, which is the same Bible, the same book. He said, "You are a blessing." And he goes further to say, "You will lend to many nations, thou shalt not borrow." Oh my God, God caught my attention. I was like, what is this? And at that point, when you grow, at that time, when you're poor growing up, you're like, how's that possible? But this is what I believe. All right. When that person sowed that seed in my heart, I heard it for the first time in my life. All right. But the good thing is, I'm glad today I believed it, because that person said, in order to go to that future that you want to go, you have to start thinking different. You have to start seeing yourself differently. And one of the things that person always say, and that person says it, and he said it to us, say, "You will never be poor again." I was like, what is that? How can somebody stand up and confident? That's the power of word. All right. That's how it happens. If you have never heard it before, you heard it for somebody, and you start believing in it. You start believing in it. You start believing in it, and you see yourself in it. When those words came to me at first, "You are a blessing. You will lend to many nations." You are believing. And this is what I heard everybody. I said it yesterday in terms of population. If they said the population of the world is going to be so, you have to decide which side you want to be on. Which side do you want to be on? If somebody can be a borrower, somebody can be a lender. You have to decide. That's the future we are going to. You have to decide. And at first, I was growing up, and I'll share this with you all. I'll share it because at that time I was a baby. I was learning those things, principle, and I was growing with it, right? I thought it's all about money, lending money, but it's not. And I will explain that to us today. It's not about money at all. It's not. Lending and borrowing from the word of God is about lending ideas to the world, lending whatever God gave to you, the gift to the world. And as I was growing with it, very young, I came to America, a young, guy who has been in the job for maybe almost a year. So at my work center, there was this gentleman. He has been in the job for like 5 years. He was a senior ranking member. So this gentleman, he obviously, because I just got in like a year. So this guy, the same, pay scale, but he was earning more money than me because he's been in like 5 years. So, but one day he came to me and said, "Femi, one day I heard you said you bought your laptop, you didn't get credit for it, you just bought it in cash. And I have a problem, and I thought about you." That's how the seed of words, the seed of saying happens. I didn't even know what I was saying, and maybe I just told him how I bought my laptop. So he went on Dell website, or one of those laptop website. He wanted to buy a laptop. So, but the problem with, he said, the cost of the laptop and the interest they were going to charge him, he couldn't pay the interest. He said it's too much. Then he talked about me to say, "Okay, Femi, could you please, can you borrow me this money?" Oh my God. And I quickly wake up. My spirit of saying wake up. I said, this is your opportunity to act on what you believe. So this gentleman, I said, okay, this is what we're going to have. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. I said, "You're going to sign your life away to me." I wish I knew better at that time. I would have said, "Can you give your life to Christ? Can you give your life to God?" But at that time, I wasn't strong enough to tell him that. So, but actually, this guy said, "Oh, I'm okay with it." I said, another caveat to it is, you're going to go to the finance office now, and you're going to schedule so that they can pay me that money installment. How long do you want to pay it? He told me, like 18 months. And I said, the other thing is, you're going to tell me you're not going to pay that 200 interest that company was going to charge you, but tell me how much you're going to pay. And you had that to the cost. So I think at that time, I can't remember, he paid like $100. That's how the seed of work comes alive. When you say it, you hear it from somebody, and you start acting it, you start seeing yourself in it, you start believing in it, it's going to happen for you. Before you can say, and that word is like a seed. It's like a seed. And once you believe it, you can see it in you. You can see yourself in it. That's what the principle is all about. You say it, or somebody says it to you, and when you see it, you will say it yourself. Then when you start saying it because you believe it, it will be. because that word is a seed itself. And you can see it like a real seed of idea coming out alive. Now, the last thing, which is where the sowing comes in, I said, if I hand you a seed, and I said it's a seed of wealth, it's a seed of whatever. If you believe me, you take that seed from me. So in order for that seed, for you to actually see what I told you that that seed contains, what do you think we'll do? If I gave you that seed, all right, Mo said, you're going to sow it, right? You're going to plant it, right? That's what Mo's saying. My daughter said, we're going to plant it, which is true. To make a seed become a fruit, we have to sow it. So that's where the sowing comes in. You say it, as you start seeing, if I told you this tree of wealth and you can see it, okay, you believe it, you say, okay, I can see this tree. Even though it's not alive, you take it from me and you go and sow it. Then when you sow it, that thing will come alive, becomes fruit. So that's when I say, when you say it, you see it. When you start seeing it, you start sowing it. That's the implementation. That's why in my style, in my life, I know people contrary, I always say contrary to what people believe. And I understand that. They'll say seeing is believing. In my own version, I call it believing is seeing. When you start seeing it, that's when you start being it. So you say it before you see it. I hope that makes sense. So from now on, I think from today, when somebody says something bigger, something huge, something greater, that is greater than your head, that you think, oh, it's impossible, and it's good, it's something that is good for your future, you need to start believing it. We need to start believing those seeds because they are seeds. And you need to start seeing it as well for yourself. You shall lend to many nations. You will not borrow. That's not a bad thing. I don't know why people want to be on the other side. When you start seeing that thing, that word, you can make it happen. So that's why I said, when you can see it, you can be it. I remember, I think a video, I'm not sure who sent that video to me. That video was a lady, she was working in a store. I think she was working in a clothing store. And she was a sales rep for that clothing store. She was just standing all by herself, right? This lady, as I recall, she was just standing there, and a strange woman came in. That strange woman stood right in front of her, and she was staring, like I'm staring at you now. She was staring like that. So the young lady that was a sales rep in the store, she was about like 19 years old. She said at first she got offended at why was she staring at her? Why was she? Then the strange woman that came in said something that kind of amazed her. She said, "You are the most beautiful person I've seen. And I believe you can become Miss America, Miss USA." At first, because of the disgust the young lady had for this stranger, she, first of all, did not like how the word came to her, like, what's she trying to say? What she's trying to say? But the good thing is, she started believing it. That's the power of saying. Somebody said something, it wasn't a her idea, but it became an idea. The next day, could you believe they met at a coffee shop? The woman, the strange woman, brought a lot of books, and that's one thing about the power of words too. There's a lot of people that wanted to tell you something. Maybe they passed away, maybe they are alive, you're not going to hear it from them. In order for you to hear that thing, to see that thing, you have to read books that are going to have effect on what you want to do on your future, because that's where you're going to get some great words from. So this young lady, her name is Deshauna, I remember now. This young lady, they met at a coffee shop. The woman told her about everything she had to do to become a Miss America, to become a beauty pageant winner. So when she was like, okay, guess what? She got home, she started doing something. She has to register in her state first before she can do the national. She did register in her state, she won. And according to her story, when she got to the national, she contested like 5 different times. She did not win. This is the story of most people in life. When they see something, they've seen it. They've seen, like I said, your future is great. You can see it. you can see your today is small, but your future shall be greater. You have seen it. But at a point in life, you trying to achieve that thing 5 times, but because you have not gotten there, you let that stop you. But this lady did not let it stop her. On the 5th time, she applied for that thing again and contested. Guess what happened? What happened? No. She lost. On the 6th time, she lost. Her frustration began to grow, but she went to the strange woman again. I said, but I thought you told me, power of word. You told me I could be Miss America. The lady said, keep going back. I could see it. Guess what? Unfortunately, the old woman, the strange woman died about 6 months later. And this 6 months later, Deshauna became the first African American serving in the US military that won Miss USA. That's the power of saying. That's the power of saying. You have to see the idea even before you implement it. That's before you sow it, you have to see it. Seeing is the revelation for future growth. And this revelation is the key to clarity of our purpose, the purpose of our idea. This revelation, let me repeat that because that's, this revelation is the key to clarity of the purpose of our ideas. The revelation is synonymous to seeing. When that revelation becomes clear, then your idea focus will start becoming sharper. You start seeing yourself in that future, right? So that's why I said, when your purpose is clear, you will work towards that purpose and you start doing something that will make you to grow in order to achieve that purpose. That's how you grow. That's how growth is achieved. I mean, growth is one of the, I talked about, I think in my book, 7 G's of great success. That's a very powerful thing I discovered during my research of greatness and growth. The 7 G's of great, and I'll talk about those 7 G's, right? And I mean, I'm not going to talk about them. I don't want to be, kind of like, I'll talk about 3 of them because I talk about 3 S's of greatness. I'll talk about 3 of them out of 7 G's of great success. All right. This is what I learned from one of my mentors. Before I go further, I need to make this clear. You don't want to be at the same point next year as you are this year. Like Pastor Hernandez was saying, we have to move forward in life every time. And in terms of seed, you don't want to be at the same point you are next year as you are this year. We have to move forward. This is where growth starts. Understanding this principle is going to help us in life. When we start growing ourselves in it, when we start developing ourselves, and it's going to change our life. We're going to start developing ourselves. All right. So I think I'm going to start talking about, one of the things another mentor of mine told me before I get to the 3 G's. I'm going to say 3 out of them, but it's actually 7 G's of great success. One of the key things I learned in life is like the most important thing in life is what you believe about your tomorrow. That's the most important thing in life. All right. And I hope at the end of this seminar, everybody's going to start seeing, we're going to start believing things you've never believed before. You're going to start seeing things you've never seen before, because that's the key to our greatness. And like I said, the most crucial thing in life, the most important thing in life is what you believe about your future. If you believe something is good about your tomorrow, right? You're going to start acting good today because you have the confidence to start act good. All right? Because the same way, the same principle, the way you see yourself determine how you treat yourself. This is why I tell people, if I believe my tomorrow is great, I'm going to start acting it. But this is what I notice is life, right? Those who don't believe in themselves, they can't believe in you. If you have an idea, you want people to believe in your idea, you better believe in that idea first. Because those who don't believe in their life, they don't believe in their idea, they're not going to believe in you. So stop quitting for looking for those who are going to believe in your idea. You have to believe in your idea first. I mean, I know people sometimes come up with a lot of reasons why they cannot execute idea. I hear things like, oh, They say something like, I'm old because I'm too old, I can't achieve my dream. I'm too young, I'm brown, I'm black, I'm white, that's why I'm poor. No, that's not the reason. I don't buy into those ideas. I know better. That's not the reason why you are poor. The reason why you are poor is not because you have accent. That's not the reason why you can't make it in life. All right? Everybody can make it in life. Your future, your great future is established. And you can make it. I can make it. Everybody can make it. Whatever you decide to believe, that's what's going to decide your future tomorrow. It's going to decide your future tomorrow. And I believe, this is my belief, I stay on the belief of greatness. All right? You have to decide what you're going to believe today. When I came to America as a young, fellow in America, learning to navigate life, I was able to be part of like maybe a small African American group that they have origin from Africa, especially Nigeria. One of the key things I heard from one of them, I was courting with this gentleman. This gentleman has been in the country for like over maybe 20 or 15 years at that time, but I just got there like 3 months. One of the advice he gave me was like, he said it, and I remember vividly, but the thing is, I did not believe it. I did not buy into that policy. So stop buying to policy that do not progress your future. The man told me, he said, no immigrant, no Nigerian, no Africans in this country buy new cars. But because, remember, I told you guys from the beginning, I heard somebody say, you will never be poor, you will lend to many nations, you will never borrow. You will be a blessing. That's one of his words. I said, that cannot be true. And at that time, I have not dealt with the guy that I was working with that I borrowed the $1,000. I have not dealt with that guy. So I just came 3 months. But one thing I did not believe, that I did not buy into that belief. I have my belief, strong belief, and I held on to it. But guess what? He was partially right in a way, because that's what happened when you are planning on your idea small. You are believing in it. You are working on it. The first car that I bought was a $2,000 car, but it wasn't a new car. But I bought it in cash. But the problem, when you believe about the future, and I told you this future is not about money, but I'm just telling you, it's about the idea. The idea was sown into me that you can lend to nation. You can be on the lending side. When somebody wants to be on the borrowing side, on the deficit side, you can decide you want to be on the positive side. The next car that I bought, it was a big down payment. Second car. About 7 years later, ladies and gentlemen, the last car that I bought, it was in cash. We went to a factory where they built it. We owned the VIN number. That was the last thing I bought on credit. That was the last thing I ever bought on credit. It was a brand new car from a factory, because I didn't buy into that belief. Now, this is serious with me. I know somebody kind of talked about that what you believe is what you be. I buy into that thing, because that's the key to our greatness. The key to our greatness is creating the fruit of what you believe in. If you're not creating the fruit from what you believe in, that your belief is probably fake. If you see me, Femi, if I believe in it, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm behaving it. You can see me, because I'm not going to be like an hypocrite who believes in something. That's how those things happen, because that's the key to your tomorrow. And I'm going to talk about being fruitful now. The key to our tomorrow, to our greatness, another key is to be fruitful, manifesting the fruit of what you believe. Be fruitful. And I pray to God that everybody that is listening to me right now, that is hearing me from right now, you'll be fruitful. Everybody can be fruitful. And I want us to know, everything that is growing, not everything that is growing that is fruitful. Not everything that is growing. And that's one of the growth is one of these G's of great success. And let me define fruitfulness for us. It's a very simple term. I define it as the good seed. And when you hear seed from now, start thinking about that great idea that you have. The good seed grows. That's where growth comes in. And it generates another good fruits. The good seed grows and generates good fruits. That's the principle of being fruitfulness. Because like I said, everything that's growing, not everything that is growing generates fruits. But here's another key thing. That's where I get all the 7 G's from. And everything is in Bible, is in Genesis, all the book of Genesis from chapter 1 to chapter 2. Everything is in there. When that good fruit comes alive, when you've manufactured that good fruit, you say you can buy something without borrowing a new car from a factory. You can do it for something else. You can continue to multiply that fruit through its seed, the seed of that idea that you have in the beginning. That's where all the 7 G's come from. So, but today I'll be talking about the 3 G's on how to be fruitful. All right? Because your fruitfulness is the key to our greatness. I'm giving us all these key things, and I hope everybody's kind of like digesting, because there's a lot of keys, but these are keys to our greatness. These are keys to our fruitfulness, because our future, our greatness has no limit. But those greatness, they have to be manifested through our fruits. And I think this is one of the things Jesus talked about like 2,000 years ago. He said, by your fruit, you will be justified. By your fruit and fruitfulness, people will know who you are. That's the key. Because by your fruit, you will be justified. I remember somebody who was not producing the food, but he went and ran to his pastor and said, hey, pastor, I have this great idea. I want to do this great idea. The pastor like, what's the great idea? He said, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. I think me and my wife were sharing that story. So this speaker, the pastor was saying like, okay, what do you need? He said, can you please borrow money to publish this book? I want to borrow money from you to publish this book. Everything is about borrowing. And the pastor was like, what's the title of your book? This gentleman said, how to be successful, how to make money. The pastor said, go and read your book. All right. Here are the 3 G's of growth, of fruitfulness. Good, growth, and generate. Generate is the principle of production. It's bringing something forth. Like I said, not everything that it's growing produces fruit. That's why you have a lot of people, like they live like 60 years, 100 years of their life, they will have regret. Somebody gave them something. I always say this in terms of ministry, in terms of work. If I bring it into something good, invite other people. The same thing goes for this social media. If you know you're listening to something is benefiting you, you better invite people, send it to people, let people listen to it. When anybody invites me to something and that thing is good, like church, like an organization, and I see that that thing is good, because I cannot believe for you, I have to bring you in there to hear that thing. All right? Because like I said, when you have a mindset of saying something that is good, you want to reproduce it, you want to generate it, right? This is one of the reasons why people are poor in life. They are not producing, they are not generating anything. All right? They are not creating, they are not multiplying. They're not multiplying the good thing in their life. That's why they are poor. Like I said, poverty is a mindset. It's not about money. It is lack of creativity. God gave you that possibility. Like I said, it is lack of productivity. You have it. It is lack of generation of ideas or seed. That's what being fruitful is all about. Before going further, I know I'm about to wrap up this thing, and I'll give you some key point. Before I do that, I'll be remiss if I don't tell you all the 7 G's in my book. Number 1 is goodness. The number 1 thing is goodness, and this word does not come from anybody. It's come from God. He's the only good person. Goodness. And when it comes to seed, an idea is derived from good seed, right? The good seed. You have to have a good seed. Like I said yesterday about your heart, you have to have a good heart. Your heart is good, a good seed will grow inside of it. So the good seed, it grows. When it grows, that's the growth. The good seed grows and it generates. From generation, it becomes a grand idea, and that idea becomes great. Apart from greatness, there's another level of greatness that people don't know. That I talked about it in my book. You go global, and from global, you go from generations to generation. That is the principle of greatness. And we all know from my last teaching that your seeds and your ideas are synonymous. They are the same thing. They're not. Ideas are seed. And we have to know, I'm going to start giving us some key points, and I think you should write it down. You should keep it. Creating a great idea for tomorrow takes time and patience. I think I talked about patience a little bit yesterday. So you need an idea that can kind of start from where you are, that can reach from generation. And the moment you have an idea, like the idea of thou shalt learn that I talked about, and you start implementing it, you start sowing it the first time, and it works for you. The best step is to start implementing it. That's the first step. When you sow it and it works for you, and you push the limit a little bit, and you start improving yourself on it, you start building confidence in yourself in order to operate an idea, so that all the pressures of life will not stop you. And you start gaining strength, deep strength in that idea, because you'll be so operational. Your skills in that idea will start improving. Like they are due knowledge, you start growing in it. I'm one of the manifestation of that idea of thou shalt lend to many nations, thou shalt not borrow. And like I said, it's not about money. I started with money because I didn't have a full understanding of it. I started growing with it. When you hear Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, talk to you, you will hear from me. One of the key stories that I wrote in my book is about Walt Disney. Disney will tell you his idea is not about money. His idea was to change the world through drawing, through cartoons. That was his idea. To the point that he quit his job. This guy quit his job. The little money he had, that's why I told you, your salary, your paycheck is a seed. That seed is what he used as a seed into that idea. He bought a small laptop. He started drawing small things. Then later on, that idea began to grow. And we all know what it has grown to today. He started even doing like TV show on black and white. Then it became like a color TV show. Today, we all know like all the color he does in the US and all over the world. This is simply how you build on your idea. This is how your future is achieved. You have to have a word that you believe. All right. This word of truth also can equate to a business. All right. And I'll quickly give us something a little bit quickly about it. All right. Because I said seed are ideas, and a business idea too is also a seed. So the first thing in life, when it comes to business, because most people will ask me when I was teaching this thing to somebody, that person asked me, how does this relate to business? I'll share it quickly here. In business idea, which is a seed, I said seed in everything. That was the principle of S, seed and sow, right? Your business idea is a seed. First of all, you have to understand the purpose and the future of that business. All right? Just like a tomato seed produces tomato fruit. What is the future of your business? No farmer plant a seed without knowing what tree is going to come out. That's what's going to determine how much work he puts in it. All right. So that's the first principle of business, of any idea. You have to have a future for that idea, and you have to know that future for the idea, the purpose why you're starting that product, the purpose of why you're starting that service, how it's going to serve the world. I talked about it yesterday. Because the idea is a seed, you are a seed as well. This means you have to know your purpose and your uniqueness. Because the manifestation of your purpose, when you start manifesting it, and when you start manifesting the uniqueness, the nature of the uniqueness is what's going to come out to be your greatness. Because people are going to know you for it. So you must have a plan for that success. You must have a plan for that future. Once you see it, you start having a plan for it. Don't let anything derail you from that plan. And just like the same way you have a plan for that future, you have a plan for business as well. Everybody knows that. They'll call it a business plan. You have a business plan. That's why I talked about it yesterday. If I'm sitting in a place like club all the time, that's where I spend my time. That's not a good environment, because I can't write my plans down there. So you have to watch your environment. But the key point here is you have to have a plan. And there's a lot of questions we have to ask when it comes to seed and business idea. I'm going to mention some of them real quick because of time. Are you ready for the planting season? I think I talked about it. A lot of people are not ready for that greatness. They are not ready to do the work. They are not ready to put the sleepless night. A lot of CEOs will tell you when they quit their job, they put in more work hours for less pay for like few years of starting that business, because you have to start small. You put in more effort. As you put in more effort, things start to grow. You see yourself inviting people and doing less, depending on how that business is growing. So there are so many questions we need to be asking. And here's a few of them, very few of them. I will quickly touch on it. Like I said, what's the vision? What's the vision for your life, and what's the vision for that business? All right. Again, do you know and understand the process of the business before you start it? Like sowing and reaping. You need to understand how to sow. You have to put, that's the same thing. It's no different. You need to understand the process. If you don't know, you can ask people. Are you unique, or are you just following the crowd? Do you know how to grow your business? Do you know how to scale it? Scaling is multiplying that idea, like I said, the same good idea. How long do you need to do the business you break before you break even? And this is one of the places where I'm going to stop. Break even in business. I have a master's degree in business. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people in the developed world, like Americans, they fail. I don't break even in life, I break through. Because if the seed dies in the ground or is on the level, it doesn't sprout out, it doesn't produce fruit, it's dead. You have to break through in life. One of the biggest examples of this that I talked about is when people go into mortgage, they learn to go into mortgage. I will quickly touch on that. That's one of my key things I tell people. Is another big bondage that makes a lot of people in the developed world to be in the lending and borrowing process for 30 years. I'm one of the good manifestation of that seed. I broke that jinx like 5 years ago. All right. Breaking even and breaking through are not the same thing. And I'll give you a quick math. You can think about it. If you have a house of $200,000, and your mortgage every month is $1,300, out of that $1,300, everybody pays taxes. So you don't even think about it. Let's say $300 go to taxes. Some taxes are higher than that, but we just want to use, I know that because I did it in like 5 years ago before I break through. I didn't break even, I broke through. $300 goes to taxes. Everybody pays that, so don't even think about it, even if you have paid off the house. But guess what? $1,000 that is left, this is where the bondage is at. In 10 years, which is like 120 months, think about it. Think about how much you've paid into that house. But guess what? Out of that 10 years, they call it amortization. 700 is going to the person that borrowed that money, you borrowed that money from, the person that lent you that money. In the Bible, somebody said, a borrower is servant to the lender. I believe that with all my heart. That's why I'm free today. There's not, including also, there's not a lot of things that I will buy on credit anymore today because I've broken free like 5 years ago. All right. This is one of the things. If you are paying $1,000 a year, I mean, a month, in about, you can calculate it, 120 months, you have paid almost 120,000. But guess what? That's 10 years. That means in like 20 years, you finish paying off the house. But guess what? Most people spend more than that to pay off the house. So the rest of the 20 years, what are you doing? That's why don't break even. That's why it's not a religious term. I break through in life. And I urge everybody to start learning the principle of breaking through. And I hope everybody will break through in life. All right. How much time do I have? I have to check that thing. Brother Sam, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Are you done?
How much time do I have? I'm checking time.
Oh, you're past your time. Your time, the time was up at 12. You already passed your time.
So that's why I'm trying to start. I know I have a lot to say today. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing being here. I hope, I pray that, all this world are going to sow a seed in us, and everybody's going to start manifesting greatness. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time and opportunity to be here. Thank you, Sam.
You are very welcome. And what we want to move to right now, it's there was a question that was asked. If anybody has a question from Femi just finished speaking, and then the first question came for Pastor Hernandez, and we have one person on Facebook that asked the question about, the person said, if you have a good attitude towards someone, the person, he said, you have a good attitude towards someone you are dealing with, but he or she doesn't have a good attitude. How do you handle such situation?
Yeah, that is a great question, because the way I live, and I live with what the Bible says, to not get tired of doing good. So, here's the thing: people are gonna have their own attitudes, maybe negative attitudes towards you. That doesn't mean you change your attitude towards them. One quick example is this. So we run a food pantry, and so we're giving away the food, for free. It's like we don't charge, we can't charge. It's for the community. And there are sometimes people that, throughout the years, we've been doing it now.
And then we can continue. All right, I'll quickly talk about the dreamers, right? That's what I really want to emphasize on today in this. Now, the last session that I took, the first session and the second session, the first session I was actually talking about the scale of preference, and it's economic terms referring to how do we make choices between what we need in the future and then what the wants that's going to be, because a lot of people have this they have this misconception of not understanding what is their need in life and what exactly they want in life. So going forward to the future, if we don't understand what is that need to help us to compete in the future, there's going to be serious catastrophe in the future. So we talked about a scale of preference, and we talked about, resetting our mindset in also to be able to do the right thing. And yesterday, I actually touched on how to focus on what is actually the need. So when you know what your need is going into the future, you need to know how to focus on that need. So today I'm going to talk about something very important. So I said things will swing in the direction of those who have plans and big dreams going forward into the future. Their language and credential are their big dreams. So the lack of people not understanding what to do is what brings about stagnation in their life. But when you have a plan, the plan is what really helps you to move forward going on in life. So many will agree, just like also I talked about that in the first session, that many, when you give them option between skills, money, and wisdom, people will agree, oh, wisdom is essential, but not a lot of people would choose, wisdom. So that's one of the issues we have. That's where the problem is. And I asked the question, what do we think is going to be the need for the future of the world? Is it money? Is it skills? And I say no. We have a lot of people, skillful people, professionals all over in the world. We have money all over. From one country to another, people have money and doing businesses. But the deficit that we have in the world right now is wisdom. And then that's where the problem is. So the choices we make are the difference between those who understand a dream and the wishful thinkers. Some people will make a choice to say, well, what I think I need to prepare for in the future is money. Some will like, okay, I need to get more degree because the future, right, I need a lot of degree to be able to get a good job, make money. But that may not be what we need to survive. So we need wisdom. So now one of the wisdom that we need in the future is the ability to create a dream right now before we get to that future. That's one of the wisdom that is lacking. A lot of people don't know that they don't have a future if they don't have a dream right now. So having a dream is wisdom. And that wisdom is what I will show us in this session. Why is it important? And how is this, something that we need to pay attention to? We live in a system that many of us cannot survive without the government, and because we are not yet independent. We live in a country we say it's free country, but not everybody has what it takes to live freely in this country. So we are in the extra time right now before things really get so bad. We are right now in our extra time. So we need to strive diligently to establish freedom. Now, I want to say this, that in this extra time, corporations, governments, and nonprofit organizations, they are doing their best to hold things together. Just like I said, it's not the government that is running the economy. It's private sectors, because they provide 80% of the job for the workforce. So the government is only providing 15%. So if those individuals that are in charge of these private businesses, if they don't have the dream, if they don't have the idea, if they don't have the understanding on how to create that job, so we're saying that 80% of the workforce in this country will have no job. So if we have a good economy, if we have a good life, if we have a good system, it is because of the fact that some people have a dream to create that amenities for us. That's why we have what we are enjoying today. If we only depend on the government to carry the responsibility of the future, the government is only responsible for just a tiny bit of the economy. So the responsibility lies on each and everyone's shoulder. Now, let me give an example of what is going on here. There is a need for us to have a dream, because that is the future of the world. Dreamers are the influencers of the future. There will be a few percentage of people that are really fully prepared for the future, just a few. And those few are those who actually have a dream in order to match with the challenges of the future. In the US today, with a population of 330 millions, we have only 149.9 million that are workforce. Now we also have, our GDP is 21 trillion and the debt is 27 trillion. So that means we are spending more than what we are producing. So what's going to happen when we're going to continue in the same trend? How is things going to change? Who is going to change things? If we have 35 million people living in poverty and we have 45 on the food stamp, who is going to take care of these individuals? If these individuals don't understand how to create their own future by having a dream, what do we think is going to happen in the future? That's the challenges we have. So I want us to understand that the way forward is to create, invent, and bet what will move the individuals and organizations and the nation forward. We have to create and birth it, and it has to be by individuals. It's not just going to be the corporate organization alone. So the future of the world is in the hand of the dreamers. The future of the world is in the hand of dreamers. These are people who dare to have a big dream and will not compromise the integrity of their passion to create the necessity that they believe the world will require to survive. If we say we have 118 million jobs being provided by the private sector, these are individuals who have a dream to start these big businesses. Walmart, Ford Vehicles, talk about all these corporations. These were started by some individuals. If they didn't have those dreams, then we're talking about 180 million people who have no job. But for the fact that they have a job today is because some people dare to dream and to follow their dreams. So I'm challenging you today, I'm challenging us today that the future of the world is still going to be on the shoulder of the dreamers. So the question is, they are not people waiting to see what others are doing, but they cannot wait for the world to see that they are doing. Those are the dreamers. They're not waiting for people to hand things over to them, but they're like eager, waiting for the world to see what they are really cooking in their own kitchen. So dreamers are passionate people. They invest in their pursuit of purpose in life. The trends of society will not influence or derail their dreams, not even COVID-19. They create trends and they are the big deal. Your dream is your credential for the perfect future that you want. And I already said that before. That's one of the philosophies of my life, that your dream is your credential for a perfect future you want. So what is credential? I'm going to take time to explain what credential is this morning. A credential, according to the Webster Dictionary, it's something that gives a title to credit or confidence. It's your qualification. That's another definition. Credential is your qualification. Now, to explain this further, the school is a learning environment, which we know, where people are acquired knowledge and certain discipline to achieve some goals in life. This means that there is a definite goal in the mind of those who create the learning structure for the students. And also the students also are required to, follow some patterns and acquire some skills in order to meet the standard of the school. So there are guidelines for the student to follow. Both the student and the school, they have guidelines to follow in order to establish and enforce standard in the school environment. A standard validates the culture of excellence. And when a college student enrolled to pursue his or her education degree, some requirements must be followed, which include semester hours, main course, electives, GPA, and they have to maintain those things. The goal of a student is to acquire knowledge and skills to develop the capacity and potential in his or her area of specialization. That's what the student is looking for. Depending on the course of study, if the student is successful, they master the subject, attain proficiency in their field. A credential validates students' qualification in their field of study. After he has gone through all those things, after 4 years and 5 years in college, a credential is what they give to the student that validates that that student qualifies in that field of study, that is proficient. So wherever the student proceeds to get a job or compete for anything, the credential is a requirement. The credential is what you tender as a testimonial of your competence, which assures, that shows your employer that you have the knowledge required for the job. Because you got to remember that your employer did not know when the student was in school. The employer did not know what the student was taught, but the employer only takes the credential as the value of what the students say, this is what I have the capability to do. So in the future that you are going to, nothing is going to challenge you about what you say you are competent in doing. Your dream is going to be that credential that shows us in the future that you have the capacity to compete in the future. That's your credential. So the credential is what you tender as a testimonial of your competence, which assures the employer that you have knowledge required to do the job. Your credential is a summary of your qualification in a specified field. No matter how much you know and the time you spend acquiring the knowledge, once you complete the learning, you must have a credential to show for it. It is not the document per se, but the competence and the evidence that you have attained and accomplished the requirement that validates your qualification in that field. It's not the paperwork. It's just that the credential validates that you are competent enough, and then you can defend what you said you have the capacity to do. That's the same thing that your dream does for you concerning the future. I'm not going to tell you that you can't build a house on the sea if you said that's your dream. I'm not going to say that. But what would tell me that you can do that when your dream comes to reality? That means you have that credential, you have that competence to be able to do it. But if you don't have that dream now, I know that you can't fulfill, you can accomplish that future that we're going to. Your dream is that validation and qualification. It is what shows your experience and gives you assurance of your competence of a perfect future. It is an accreditation of your spirit and soul that what you want in life, you have the capacity to make it happen regardless of what is going on in the world. Your dream, it's a validation to your spirit and soul that, yes, I can do it. Nobody needs to come and say, hey, verify. Let me know if you're really sure that this dream is okay. No. When you have that dream, that's an accreditation to your spirit and soul that you can do what you think you want to become, and you can become that thing in the future. So when people don't have a dream, they are actually destroying an entire future. Your dream is a credential to your perfect future. So now let me take you a little bit deeper why your dream matters a lot. The future is not going to happen. It's already existing. The year 2023, 2025, 2030 are not years that will emerge in the future. No, it's not like the year is being created every 12 months. No, that's not what is happening. The calendar year is what destabilizes and creates confusion in our minds about the new year. So once it's December now, and we think the new year is going to be, oh, next month is a new year. No, it's not a new year. The year has been existing from the time of creation. What changes is the calendar that helps us to understand time. So when you say you're going to the future is already here. There is nothing like a new year. What we have is another calendar date to continue counting the progression of time. So day and night exchange positions to create another full day, which becomes weeks. And weeks also go by, and then months go by, and then the time is gone, and we keep moving in life. So nothing changes. The sun is still the same. The moon has not changed. Not even the ocean is still in the same place where it is. So nothing is changing. The only thing that is changing in this world right now is your own plans and your own program. So when we're talking about the future, the sun is not going to change. The moon is not going to change. The ocean is going to still be where it's supposed to be. What is going to change in the future is the contribution of men to what is happening right now. It is plans that men have that they want to carry forward to the future. That's what creates the future. And that plan is the seed that is embedded in your dream. So if you don't have a dream, you're doing yourself a big disservice concerning the future. So what I want to establish is the fact that nothing about each year is different, but the activities and the events that human orchestrated drives what we call the change that we see. Men and women are the one that brings about change and influence in this world. If you see 2025, what's going to be different from 2025 and 2020 is what people and men are going to do. What's going to be different about your life? All the speakers have actually spoken about this. So when Femi was asking, tell me what the population of the world is going to be in 5 years. He said, nobody's going to know. You only know what you're going to do. Pastor Hernandez said the same thing. You can't influence what other people are going to do. You can only influence what you're going to do. So in this, I'm trying to cap everything together that one of the things that's going to determine what's going to happen in the future is the dream that you have is going to be the contribution to the future. You can save the 35 million people that are living in poverty. If you have a dream that can alleviate poverty, if you have a dream that can remove people from food stamp, you can do it in 5 years' time. You can have a program. You can have a foundation that can, something like Pastor Hernandez is doing he's doing the food pantry, and people will come every 2 Saturdays. They will be feeding about 200 people. That's a dream. That's something somebody's doing. So he might decide that say he wants to feed the whole world. That's the bigger you can have the dream, the bigger that future is going to respond to that dream. So I want us to have a big dream. And that's one of the things we teach in Life Impact. We want everyone to be able to receive the knowledge, to be able to transform themselves, and then be able to sustain the society and change the landscape. That's what Life Impact is about. Now, for those who make meaningful changes and create an impact in the future are those whose credential afforded them the opportunity. Remember, your dream is that credential. They have the qualification that allowed them to affect those changes based on the power of their knowledge and passion. They are unstoppable and unshakable. Nothing influences them like their dreams. No one can define their reality except them. They know what they want and they know how to get it. What qualifies them as is their credential, and that credential is their dreams. These are those who change the events of the future. They influence and control what we see and how we see things. Your dream gives you the power to successfully influence whatever will happen in the world. No one will question or query your possibilities that you can accomplish anything. The proof of your certainty that you are qualified to pull off the stunt is your credential. That's what proves that you can pull off the stunt to be who you want to be in life. When you live in the reality of this dream that you have. So in your dream is the hours of semesters and of ideas, handouts, your dictation, your studies, your tests, and your acquisition of knowledge that's embedded to create the future you want. Everything is in your dream. That is why your dream is your credential. The challenges of the future will demand that you provide this credential. The challenges of the future would demand that you provide this credential, which is your dream. So who are these dreamers? Let me quickly highlight who these dreamers are. Are you one of them? That's another question. And if you're not one of these dreamers, I want you to understand that this is the best time to say, I want to be somebody who's going to have a big dream, because that's what the future is going to depend on, dreamers. So the dreamers, the future of the world belongs to the dreamers. The world that we currently experience is organized, run, and influenced by dreamers. They are men and women in different countries, professions, specialization. They have different attributes, personalities, backgrounds, and language. They speak different languages and face different challenges. But there's one thing that is common among these people is because all of them, regardless of their differences, they have dream. The common thing among all those people is their dream. So they are the dreamers of the world, and the future of the world is for them to decide because they have the credential to do so. So they are the one that decide what's going on in the world. It's not people that are wishful thinkers. The people that influence and decide what's going on in the world are the people who are dreamers. Now, the U.S. Patents and Trademark Office granted 339,000 patents in 2018 and 391 patents in 2019. That tells you that some people are still working with their minds and creating things and trying to change things. That's beyond 500,000 patents that are given to individuals who are innovators, inventors, and creators of ideas. These are the dreamers. They're not sitting down somewhere folding their hands and seeing what is it that's going to happen. They are creating things every day. So these are risk takers, men and women with credentials to create a perfect future. With your credential, you are undeniable. Nobody can deny your future. The reason nobody acknowledges you is because you do not have a voice yet. The moment they see your credential, you begin to make a statement with your invention and innovation, then you're going to be attracting accolades as you take your spot in the stage of the world. This is the power of the dream. And that's, you have on the screen there, it's what Napoleon Hill says. He said, there is no single invention or idea that turns into a reality that was not first conceived as a dream. We can't change anything in the future if we don't have a dream. We cannot. So having a dream is not a tedious or a mysterious thing. It's still the same concept that drives your desire towards things that you wanted in life, just the way you want something. The little things you want, that's the way you start having desire for some bigger things. What is unique about dreamer is the obsession they have with their dreams. You cannot create the future until you apply the power of your dream that transmit ideas and concept into existence. So no single invention turns into a reality without conceiving as a dream. You can say that the conception of a dream is the birth of invention and ideas that are waiting to happen. When you conceive, that means you can give birth to those things. Never will a seed grow downward, but it's always up above the soil. Your future is another life within another life. The life that carries your future is your dream. And without that dream, there is no future. So do you have a dream? You have to have a dream. Let me talk about the concept of designing and planning your dream. If you see the statements here, it says visualization is the first proof of the existence of a reality. An architect is a guy who constructs and designs something. A design, according to the Webster's dictionary, is to conceive and plan out something in the mind. When you think of a design, think of a specification or a plan for something you want to create or a prototype. The critical understanding here is that it must first exist in your mind before it becomes a reality. If you can conceive it, if you can imagine it, if you can picture it in your mind, that means it's existing. And that means you can make it happen. Whatever you can design is because you have captured the specification, the idea, the concept in your mind first. First, it has to first of all appear in your mind. You have, if that thing occurs in your mind, that means you have the original concept within you and you can reproduce it. That's what design and plan is about. If you can capture this idea in your mind of where you want to be in the future, what you want to do in the future, what you want to become, who you want to become in the future. Once you can capture this idea in your mind, all you need to do is replicate the same. Write it down, put it on a paper. It's real. You're not trying to just, paint, a vague picture. No, that something is existing. That's why you can capture it in your mind. So a plan of a house is not different from the house itself. The plan must first exist before building the structure. However, the design of a plan of a house is a prototype of the building. Without first having the design or plan, no one knows what is in your mind. So the design must first be on paper or a laptop or any device to show what is in your mind before building. The moment you capture the idea or design of the building in your mind marks the birth of a reality. The moment you capture the idea, the design of that thing in your mind, that's the birth of a reality. So think about that. And once you have that thing, that means you have a go-ahead to build. That's the way you start design your dream. Capture an idea, capture an imagination. Once you see it in your mind, that means there's an existence, it's real. Your dream is a plan or the design. And then your future is the building. Once you have the plan, you can put the structure on the ground. If you don't have the plan, you don't know what to build. But once it is designed, as in written down, that means you can replicate it. So if you can see your future, that is a dream. And if you can dream that future, it's a guaranteed future for you. You can make it happen. So laying a foundation to build, you need a plan. And people that really don't have a foundation, don't have a plan, that's a disaster that is going to happen in the future. You can't build without having a foundation, without having a plan. Every developed system has a plan that shows the city layout. Like when you go into here in El Paso, when you go to the city, the community place, they show you, oh, there's a city, the layout for the city, the layout for the community. They show you where you can build houses, and they show you, but what they will not tell you, they will not design what you want for you as a building. So nobody is going to be able to give you a dream for your future. You have to have your dream by yourself. You are responsible to design your own future. That's what I'm trying to say. You are responsible to design your own future. What is your dream? Now, this is it. We are here today because I have a dream. December 5, I'm going to be doing a seminar. That was my dream. Now you are seeing it come to pass. It's not difficult. I had it I could see it. I said, okay, December is going to be 3 days that we're going to do this seminar. I'm going to start on the 3rd and the 4th and on the 5th. I went through writing what I want to do. I was saying, okay, am I going to do it online or on this? And I went through all the stuff. But no matter what happened, at the end of the day, here we are, December 5. What I plan, in what I design, here it's coming to pass, and here you are there with me. Now, what plan do I have for the future? 2025. There's going to be a conference that I'm going to hold in this place. It's called the shifting of the system of the world, the tectonic shift. That's my dream. Just like I had a dream of today and I live in the reality, I can see it come to pass. Dreams is going to come in little, bit by bit. It's not necessary you have one big dream at once. Like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to buy a yacht. That's a dream, but it may not happen tomorrow. But once you know that you can begin to have a little dream and you see it come to pass, that gives you a credential that, yeah, the bigger ones are going to come to pass. So I know I'm going to do this in 2025. It's a big conference. I'm going to bring speakers from across the nation. So it's already been planned. So that's a dream. So that's what it takes to have a dream. So those who capture, and I say, so what is your dream? Those who capture the certainty in the invisible can create anything in the material realm. If you can capture the certainties in the invisible, you can create things in the material realm. Reality is a combination of both the visible and the invisible realm. The only way to understand the power of your dream is to allow yourself to tap into the ideas, imaginations, and capture it. With the knowledge of the unseen, you can capture and interpret and empower your ability to change the world. Your dream is invisible, so you cannot limit the proposition of your life only on the visible. The invisible is a tangible and has unlimited potential that we can, see physically. So if you cannot see it physically, sometimes doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You must see it first in your mind. That's where it matters. In your mind, and then translate it before you can see it happen. Write down your dream. And I said, write down your dream. If you do not have one, associate with those who have dream. No matter the cost, you must have a dream because there is no future without one. The difference between what you do every day and your dream, it's not really that much. So when you wake up in the day, you want to go to work. Everything you do every day, you first of all motion it in your mind before you take the step. And that's the same thing with the reality of your dream. The difference is just like for what you're doing now, when you go to work, with your daily activities, you actually do it physically. But your dream is still in the future. But there are things you have to do mentally to prepare for that future. So your daily activities are physical, but you derive cues from them and strength through your mental preparation. So the same thing is your dream. By your mental preparation, you can actually visit your dream on a daily basis. You can actually go into that future. If you want to drive from your house to another place, the first thing you think is you go through that route in your mind first before you even step out of your house. So the same way, you can visit your dream every day in your mind and do things every day that revolves around that dream. There is an unlimited world of dreams. Now, let me show you this. When you're looking at this slide, what looks like the cloud there is the unlimited world of dreams and untapped resources. What connects us to these unlimited worlds of untapped resources, the realms of the invisible, is ideas, vision, dreams, imagination, and illumination. Those are the connectors. They are the conveyors. They bring, if you only can create access to tap into this realm of the unseen ideas, unseen vision, unseen imaginations, and illumination, you will draw resources, ideas that people have never seen before, things that people don't even imagine can exist. It's there in the invisible realm. But we need to tap into this realm to be able to pull down those things. That's what idea is all about. Going into the unlimited resources, unlimited world of dreams and untapped resources to bring down ideas, vision, dreams, imaginations, and illumination by using your mind to tap into that realm. So you can do beyond what you think you can do. It's only that you need to allow yourself to be able to access this realm of unlimited world of dreams. You need to allow yourself to tap into those resources. And the only way to connect there, the connector is ideas. Ideas will come from where you don't understand. It's coming from the unlimited world of dreams. If you can dream it, if you can imagine it, it's a possibility, it's a reality. But you have to give yourself the opportunity to tap into that realm. The civilization we live today, the modernization world, the world of technologies, it's coming from these unlimited resources, unlimited world of dreams. And the only way they get connected to people's mind is through the idea, through their vision, through their dreams, through their imagination, and through illumination. So what I'm saying right now is, if you want to reach out into a greater depth in life, you have to give access to yourself to tap into this unlimited world of dreams and untapped resources. It is very possible. It is not a difficult realm to get into. You just have to program yourself to be able to walk in that realm. There is a perfect future in an imperfect world. And even people say a picture will speak thousands. When you look at the picture on the screen, you see that it's showing you that a dream is a shadow of the reality. Now let me talk about why do I say there is a perfect future? What do I mean by that? Why did I say perfect when people say there is nothing that is perfect? So I know that people say that. So how come there is a perfect future? It is perfect because it is exactly the way you plan the future. I said a perfect future because it is you that plan it, and you're going to see the way you plan it. No, so perfection here does not mean, oh, there's not going to be flaws in things that you're doing. So when you look at this picture here, so what is perfect about this is the egg is going to hatch into chick. The egg is not going to hatch into becoming something different. So the perfection there is anytime you hold the egg, you know what is going to come out from egg. It is exactly what you want that you will see. Your dream is that egg. The future is the chick. So when you have the dream, you have the reality. Your dream is a shadow of the reality you're looking for. Your dream is also the picture of the finished product of your life. You are going to be the one who determine what that products want to look like. So from this moment, you need to know, where do I want to see myself in 10 years? You got to be specific. The reason I put this picture there is like you design it however you want it. You can make it square, you can make it any form. You are the one who decide what is the finished product of your life is going to be based on your dream. And that's going to be, it's going to come out the same way you have intended it to come out. You must see the picture before you start building. That's how life is about. Before you continue to progress into the future, see the picture. It does not matter where you get the design from. You must build from the template in your mind. Because at the end of the day, your dream is going to be the finished product of your life. So whatever you have now conceived now is going to be where you are going to. So I'm thinking about how do you, what kind of a dream do I need to have to be able to influence 35 million people living in poverty? But I assure you, in 5 years' time, the number is going to be more than 35 million. We're going to see, and are we going to get there? And we're going to remind ourselves that, oh, Sam, you said it, that in 5 years, the number of people living in poverty in 2020 was 35 million for US. And we will see in 5 years if there's going to be increase or decrease. But I'm assuring you today that it's going to be increase. Why? Because I already showed you the first day of the seminar about scale of preference, about the deficit of wisdom in the system, and even at world at large. And one of the statements I made is, You see, the world has come into the place that the deficit of wisdom can no more be hidden in the society. We have skillful workers, we have money, but one thing that we're lacking, people does not put that in their scale of preference. That's what's going to continue to cause the dilemma that we're going to see in the future. But we need dreamers to change this. We need myself, we need you to create great dreams that will be able to change this, what's going to be happening in the future. So your dream is a reality. A seed is a reality of a tree. The seed is a credential that there is a perfect future for a tree to come out. An egg is a reality of that a chick is going to manifest. So your dream is the exact prototype of the life that you want. The exact prototype. It's not going to be different. It's the same thing. It is what qualifies you for the future of the world. The future of the world is you and me because of the dream that we carry within us. The future of the world is you and me because of the dream that we carry. Our dreams are the reality of the future handed over to us now to nurture, to build and to accomplish and bring alive. So you have that seed of that dream in you. You have to bring it alive. You must have a dream to compete in the future. I want us to understand this, that your dream is real. If you have one and you're doubting yourself, don't doubt your dream. It's real. If those pictures and those images are coming into your mind, don't doubt yourself. It's real. To see your dream come to pass, you need to accept it, believe it, and then create activities around it. Let it be your focus. It is your mental vision and idea of the invisible pathway to a visible destination. It is your GPS. It's going to help you to navigate into the future. If you can think about it, if you can dream it now, it is a reality. That's what I'm saying. Your dream is the finished product of your life. Right now, you need to know where you are going. You need to know if in 10 years, you need to know if people are going to know you anywhere. You need to know what people are going to identify you with because you have a dream. And that's the finished product of your life. If you don't have one, it's the best time to start one. Associate with people that have gotten dreams. So those who, this is what I'm going to leave us with. Those who will influence, those that influence our world today are dreamers. Those who will influence it tomorrow will still be dreamers. Why? Because that is the only credential to create a perfect future. Your dream is the only way to create a reality that is far beyond your current limitations. It is the only opportunity you have in life that brings you to a platform that no human can deny you access. Your dream is the only thing that guarantees you a spot among the great in life. Your dream is the only thing that qualifies you to the topmost tiers of the system. That's one thing no politician can take away from you. That's one thing no preacher can deny you from. That's one thing no forces can take away from because it's in you. It's the finished product of your life. If you have it now, you can become it. Now, also, let me say this. You own the patent to your own dream. That's one of the things you invent. That's one of your inventions. That's one of the things nobody can stop you from. You might not be able to, invent a car or invent another something, Microsoft something, but your dream should be your invention. And when you invent that dream, you own the patent to that dream. And when you own the patent to that dream, guess what? The future that you're going to create is also belongs to you. You own the patent to that future. The unknown of the society has become somebody because of their dreams. Even people that grow up in the woodlands that have no degree, doesn't go to school, have not become anything in life, they just have a dream. And one day you hear them and everybody's listening to them. Maybe they are rappers, maybe they are musicians, maybe they are anything. But for the fact that they have a dream and they pursue that dream, and the nobodies have become somebody. There is no discrimination in the world of dreams. It is the only way and the only credential to transmit imagination and ideas into the desired future. The future of the world belongs to the dreamers. There is a perfect future, but you must have a dream. And that's going to be all that I have for us today. I really, really want to thank everybody that has been part of this. And I want to really appreciate everybody that's been listening. If we still have a question and it's a time we can ask that question,